Hello everyone, welcome back to the two-line pass. Today it's a bit of a double feature. We're going to talk about New York Rangers first round pick EJ Emery and Utah second round pick Will Skahan. Couple of guys that we got to decide, are they athletes that play hockey or hockey players that are great athletes? So let's dive in. Okay, so let's see how we handle various situations here. First challenge of the game is a bouncing puck. He's in good shape positionally. Now, the best players, especially the best conservative players, make the game predictable for the next guy in line, right? So we have a bouncing puck, that's unpredictable. A pragmatic player would create a wall between forechecker and puck. We have all kinds of support, and this isn't very threatening on its face. So let's not give the opponent something out of nothing. Just play this with good positioning and be ready to possibly catch this puck and apply one-touch passing. But first and foremost, let's worry about our body positioning. Okay, he's playing the unclear puck trajectory here. He's now trying to guess the unpredictable instead of playing the predictable. So like most things I show, it's not a huge deal in a vacuum, but I'll demonstrate why there's more to this decision than meets the eye in a moment. Now look at the problem he's invited on himself. He recovers with ranginess, he recovers with his feet, and saves it, but the bounce eats him up. He doesn't front it, he doesn't take the man, so he leaves it up to chance. Alright, we'll progress along here. He's defending the slot. Go with that. Now watch here. Engage in the box out with inside leverage. That's good. I thought he became a little tougher to play against as the year went on, but it wasn't consistent. He's also not very strong yet relative to his size. I think his physical development arc has a lot of upside to it. Let's watch here as we continue. Now I don't love the partner support. It looks like he's questioning what's going to happen. I wish he provided a better passing outlet. But it's kind of a scrambly situation, so I'll give him some credit. Now, I don't like drafting glass and out guys to the junior level, but for a player with weaker puck skills, pulling the ripcord at the right time can be a plus. This late shift turnover is pretty tough. I'm actually a little surprised this isn't a slam on the brakes and pivot situation given the sudden change that he created. He takes a loop. Now I assume it's to get back to his net, defend the near side post line, and I'll buy that. But what's happening right now? The puck is here. If 14 can hold his liquor a little better, it could become a party. Okay, before we get to this next Emery clip, I just want to do a really quick definition of something. Neutral zone surfing is when you have a rush about to generate against you coming out of their zone, and one of your defensemen slides across to the adjacent or far lane to break the stride, break the speed, or even straight up shut down that rush before it gets started. Okay. Doesn't look like much, as it's a fairly standard issue play, but there's some interesting stuff going on. Puck is here, we're at the red, so a dump in is possible, but we have a decent neutral zone route forming. Some of you may have seen in the Matvey Gridin video, Muskegon tries to exploit routes that cross the face of defensemen in the neutral zone. On the weak side, we trust our back pressure for the far lane. That's the lowest threat right now, so we leave that to the weaker defensive players. The biggest threat right now is this guy slashing through the middle. Emery is a neutral zone surfer. Let's watch the surf and the shutdown of the biggest threat. That's a bingo. Nice job coming in over the top, apply some physical contact, but it's not a crime scene. Okay, well, that's the end of all of that then. We'll take a look at that again. Something I look for in the best defensive players is something I call defensive viscosity. In short, your ability to stick on an attacker, mirror their movement, and disable them in totality. There's elements of defensive viscosity here. He just doesn't let player 20 off the hook whatsoever. Okay, now, very next shift takes a look at what happens when keeping it real can go wrong. When you don't size up a hard surf correctly, you leave yourself exposed. There's elements of neutral zone surfing that need to be considered. One, the threat level of the rush. This is the play that's starting in the gutter. Those plays tend to die in the gutter with even modest defensive effort. The other element is calculating the back pressure. One of the more interesting advents in rush offense these days is the art of the area pass. That can be a counter-strike to surfing. So it's important to monitor who you're out there against and what they're capable of. Now let's look here. We have both D-men now stacked up. I'm not worried about the interior guy because player 7 here would have plenty of time to take care of that and he'd have bracketed help. I am a little concerned though about half of the remaining rink being open with a lumberjack leading the race to that ice. When you have half the rink, the pass doesn't need to be exact. There's a lot of room for error for the attackers and it can still work out. Also, Emery's angle isn't that great right now. He's likely a better skater than whoever he's going against in the USHL, but this is his very last USHL game. It gets ratcheted up another level in a couple months. Will this work out against DU? Maybe. Let's see how this one goes for now. It is an area pass to the weak side, and Emery gets the shaft of his stick on it and survives. The result is good, but I'm not in love with the process that he took to get there in this particular instance. He takes his man out of the play, so that's good. Now the play stays alive, so as far as Emery is concerned, this is the second or third defensive stand he's had to make this shift. So that's a lot of mental processing to do. I'm going to let this play out, then we'll break it down. Okay, at a glance, this doesn't look very good for Emery, but the development of this play isn't really on him. Now, he's not very technically sound here defensively overall, and I'm wondering if he realizes where that backside player had gotten to, but he rightfully was expecting help on the weak side, and his center leaves him hanging out to dry. So let's look again. It's even numbers down here, but then the center just starts tracking up the ice on the outside. If you don't want to be in the defensive zone anymore, I get it, but at least shade middle and cut off that passing lane. Emery is a right D-man who is still caught on the left because of his earlier surf. Ideally, him and Seven are flipped, but whatever, they'll live. A good pairing leader probably calls a switch here when the puck gets out high. Maybe not when it crosses from D to D, but when it's not a great pass back to the point, so maybe there was an opportunity there when they were close together to call a switch. I'm not sure that Emery is a pairing leader at the next level. I think he's more of a support guy. Like if it all goes really well, he's a number 4. If it goes pretty well, he's a number 6. I don't think he's a 3. I definitely don't think he's a 3 or even a 5, really. But again, the physical development arc, the technical development arc, those are things that have the most room for growth here. So if he can eat them up in short order and really build on it, this could be a player that justifies this lofty selection. All right. Here we go. One more shift from Emery, and then I'll turn to Skahan. I have a little bit of an issue with Emery's footwork because his poke check always comes out of the hip. So he's often turning his feet and sliding up, and it can lead to problems sometimes. One of the key tenets of deception for forwards is using stick handling and feints to turn toes and attack heels. Watch any high-end player's highlight reel. Those are some of the best posterizing moments we have. Turning toes and attacking the heels of the defender is a key to one-on-one offense. So by coming in with turned toes most of the time, you're doing some of the work for the better forwards. That doesn't mean never do it. It just means that it can't be the only method in your stick defense protocols. And look, as you can see, it's not always wrong. It works plenty, especially if you're rangy and have reach, which Emery does. But the thing is, you're going against players that can't do anything about it more often than not, right? The guys that aren't agile enough and don't have the technical skill to do it. So it can't be the only thing. And this might be one of those times that you don't use it for a slightly different reason. So let's get back to the play. Here's the scan. This is part of rush absorption in the risk mitigation process. Let's identify where everyone is at, check the numbers, check the speed. Okay, great. We got a rush that has been pushed to the wall coming up Emery's side of the ice. It's a little more dangerous than it ought to be because Cole Yzerman is out there and he's doing his own thing. But look at the body posture of Emery. He's not really in a position to close on this puck at all, which is fine. But worse off, with this body posture, he loses the range of motion to scan for longer or to check again. Now, he doesn't know what has changed behind him and where the biggest threat is now. That's going to leave him with less reaction time if this rush gets hot. So while Yzerman goes out for milk, the play continues, and now it's dicey. The back checker has lost some leverage. There's no inside help from a forward. These D-men need to quickly sort out the biggest threat of this, or this is going to go into the net probably. Well, one thing that we don't want is the puck to get into the slot or across the net line. The play originated on this side of the ice. If we can keep it there, it's a huge advantage to our goalie, who had a clear line of sight to the puck the whole time. But remember, our body posture doesn't allow us to do a checkup and see what's out there. So here comes the pass, and it's not going the grid in here. A lefty just inside the dot line who has no real angle to shoot. Partial credit, he's the best player on the ice for either side at the moment, so if you're going to guess the guy that has 60,000 goals this year. But ideally, this is just a chip, and then Emery can find the actual pass recipient in the slot who is more of a legitimate threat to score from a territorial perspective, and this would allow his partner to babysit player 14, who would be a player all the way across the net line with an interior shot, which is a huge threat. So, you know, it's just kind of win-loss, win-loss, win-loss with Emery, and that's not unheard of. But, you know, for all the talk that he's the best shutdown guy and he's all this kind of stuff, yeah, yes and no. He's not bad or anything. I just don't really see how he's so much better than, say, Elliot Gronwald in Cedar Rapids. Like I had them back to back on my list, and both as C-rated players. I had Emery slightly ahead because I do see a little bit more upside there, but 100 picks ahead, 80 picks ahead, whatever the number was, I don't know. I don't see it. Will Skahan, the Utah second rounder, goes about his business in a different way. He's way stronger, but he seems to lack some confidence, or worse, he lacks hockey sense and confidence. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and call it mostly a confidence issue. While he gets points for being a mauler along the boards, let's watch what really matters, and that's disabling checks in threatening situations. He's surprisingly not as tough as you'd like there, and it just looks like he's a little unsure. His puck skills are poor. He had 2 assists in the USHL this year. One in September when he passed it into Bednarik's feet, who fed Yzerman to make it 9-3 in the third against, I think, Green Bay. And the other came in December against Youngstown. So no assist in 2024 in the USHL. You can trip and fall over an assist at that level. That's not a good sign. Not to belabor the point, but when's the last time someone played reasonable games and got 2 assists in the USHL in their draft year? What, Murchison by Philadelphia? What's worse is his puck poise is bad. Let's watch here. He gets a clean pick in the neutral zone, right on his tape. He has a short pass. That isn't ideal, but it's Christian Humphreys, and he'll figure it out. He's a problem solver. Ideally, he sends Stiga, if he comes back with a good route, he sends Stiga as he comes back being onside. He has space to operate, so let's see. He banks it off the boards and tries to give it right back. Now, despite his best efforts, the program figures it out and gets a look. And look, while I do favor skill, right, not everyone has to be a magician, but there's got to be a base level of let's keep this play alive with any pick. Here, partner support, and arguably his partner support's a little better than Emery's even, because Emery stands in front of the net and doesn't move. It's bizarre. But here, it's a little herky-jerky, but ultimately good rush support and a nice little slip pass into the middle, so he's not holding the stick the wrong way, so there's some good stuff. I'm just going to do some commentary while these shifts play out. I don't like to take shifts too far out of order because then it looks like I'm up to something. I don't know what. So the concept of, and I'm going to pick on this guy some more, but it's not anything novel, right? This is where this guy goes. It's the second round guy from the program who has questionable puck skills, but he plays tough. Brady Cleveland in 2023 to Detroit. Ryan Chesley, not a bigger guy, but competitive guy, 2022 to Washington. Tyler Clevin to Ottawa in 2020. So this isn't new stuff. But just when he gives you 8-10 shifts in a row of being a conservative, stay-at-home guy, and then he ends up here, it admittedly a bit of a scrambly situation, but the net front guy, which would be the left D here ordinarily, the net front guy is lonely in the slot, and that's where MSU gets this pass. And here, the program wins the loss on the defensive zone faceoff, and again, puck's poise, puck skills. This is an easy little reverse here. Yeesh. All right, well, at least he'll be urging back to the front to ensure, oh boy. Now the puck is here with your man. Can we get to this guy a little faster than 7 miles per hour? What's going on? So again, it's like there's a confidence issue, and then there's a reads issue, and then there's an urgency issue, and it's just kind of tough. Sometimes you can just throw the umbrella of consistency over this and just go, well, he just needs to get more consistent. But there's some really technical stuff that needs to come around. Here, good stick. Play continues, play continues, play continues, play continues. Here, not so good stick. Perfection isn't the bar. It's just consistently good habits are a plus. His stick and rush absorption is good. His play going to or coming off the boards is not very good. His physicality along the boards is good. His physical defense in the interior is not very good. So, besides the obvious, his puck skills need to get beyond the Jim Gaffigan level of chip, chop, chip. The next step in his progression that we want to watch for is how he marries his potential strengths to be more well-rounded in the defensive zone. That's when you start talking about a shutdown defenseman. Just because you don't play offense doesn't make you defensive. Defense is in the absence of offense. Just because you hit guys on the boards doesn't make you a shutdown guy. There's details to it. And he has pieces. And this kind of stuff is going to be a clue, where he goes next year in the next couple of years is going to be a clue as to how this is tracking. Here we go again. Confidence, reads, interior physical defense. There's nothing else on the planet that you can do right now. Just shut off 28. The pass is coming to him. He's the furthest up. You're the last guy. The pass is coming to him still. Like, look at your body posture. Well, what about 26? What about 26? If your timing is good, you arrive at the same time as the puck to 28. So 26 likely won't matter unless there's a bad bounce, in which case there's a bad bounce. Life's tough. Move on. You're already in turn and go mode. You're turning and going with 28. It's been decided. It's a bad pass. Then Skahan recovers with his reach. Again, good stick in rush absorption. But you read some of the reports out there and you think this guy has rabies. But there's a lot of stick-led defense, and that's not wrong. I'm not mad at it at all. But let's just be aware of his process, because otherwise what you read isn't going to match what happens on the ice, which is too often the case. Here we go, late in the period. He's turning and going with Gucciardi, a defenseman. Everyone else is on their wraps. But he didn't saddle up with him and take his space. And you go, oh, look, nice recovery. Well, not so fast. He didn't make that play. The back pressure did. He got beat inside. He gets it late in the period. Check for the reverse. Check for the weak side. Rotation off the turnover. No and no. Whammo, off the glass and out of the rink. And now an unnecessary defensive zone face-off late in the period. All right, this is running long because it's 2 players, so sorry. I'll wrap it up here. Look, I'm weird about drafting defensive defensemen in general, so I couldn't see myself using a top 75 or so pick on either of these players. Not because they have no chance to play, I don't believe that at all, but what value would I likely get from it? For me, the biggest value add in the draft is the potential of entry-level production. If you get a guy that gets 15 or 20 goals, 40, 50, 60 points and 900K, that's a bonanza. If I get 16 calmish minutes at $900,000, that's nice. As a coach, that's great. But does it change the complexion of my team? If I need 16 or 18 minutes of even money, can I find it easier than entry-level production? Look at the deadline. Chris Tanev is guaranteed already someone. It's a lock. But what did he get? Like 2 2s? The physical guys like Zadorov and Labushkin, what did they get? Like a 3 and a 5, 3 and a 6? And that's not nothing. But I got a 1 and a 2 here. And hopefully in 3 or 4 years, they're 75% as good as undrafted Chris Tanev. The economics just don't make any sense for me. And I'm very pro-defensive defenseman. I'm not one of those goobers that thinks you can win if you have 6 Samuel Girards on your blue line. I'm just saying, why am I spending a first-round pick on the chance of getting one of those guys when I can usually get an established veteran lock, a guy that plays, that's maybe won a cup for less? No one would play the lottery if tickets cost $5 and the max prize was $4. I don't know. I'm weird about it. What do you guys think? I realize I haven't asked for comments really, but the book says ask for comments. So I know I'm weird about defensive defensemen. So tell me off below. Maybe it'll generate another idea for a video. And until next time on the 2-Line Pass, thanks for joining me.